alibwamu amanya go gajja kweleta automatically awo nojuzaamu n'ebirala bitono nnyo ebyetaagisibwa ng'ennamba y'essimu yo, email address yo ne gy'obeera era nga bino osobola obisanga emabega wandaga muntu yo then nosubmitinga nga kamesagi kajja direct ku ssimu yo dakiika ntono nnyo
nga sina hey yes bannange bintu bikolera ddala bannange obugayaavu kibi omanyi nti obugayaavu bukuza muti bannange weebale Dangote bannange omponyeza omanyi ebintu byange bingi byowonyeza okubbibwa nzizeyo mu URA mbalage nti njirina.
Okubeera ne tini namba kikuyamba mu bintu bingi nnyo okugeza mu kusuubula n'okusuubuza eby'emuguzi mu Uganda ne wabweru wa Uganda, okuddizibwa ensimbi okuva ku misolo gy'ozosasula, okufuna looni mu banka ez'enjawulo, okufuna layisinsi okuva mu government agencies zonna, okuwandiisa emmotoka yo n'okugula oba okutunda ettaka.
URA tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda.
Good morning, taxpayers of Uganda. Welcome to today's episode of Tax Michuzi. My name is Anand Priska, your host, and I'm very honored to be talking to you during this Christmas season as we prepare to celebrate the birth of the Lord. And I hope that this season will bring you good cheer for you and your families. And we also hope that you enjoy it responsibly. And for the tax month, that means meeting your tax obligation before deadline day, right? And to talk about, to let you understand your tax obligation for the year, for the end of year, is the reason why we're having this webinar. And to take us through is tax literacy expert, Hajat Hafsa Seguya. Hafsa, welcome to Tax Michuzi once again.
Thank you, and good morning, Uganda. Good morning, our viewers. This morning, we are glad to be with you once again before you go in Christmas. To remind you of whatever you need to know on our side so that you do not fall short of your obligations once again. Okay, thank you, Hafsa. And, as is our norm here on Tax Michuzi, we're going to just get started to jump right in. And Hafsa, what are some of the tax obligations that our taxpayers should keep in mind, should make sure they meet during this period as the year comes to an end? Let's start with the individual taxpayer. An individual taxpayer, ideally the obligations cut across, but the major ones, first is registration. Okay. To register for your business, immediately you start, you register the business name with URSB, you register for taxes. That is getting a TIN, and you do it with URA. Okay. And that TIN is free. Yeah. So when it comes to an individual, ideally I give you one TIN and you trade with that TIN with your business name. For example, if I'm Hafsa Seguya, the TIN will be in the names of Hafsa Seguya trading as the other business name. Okay. Maybe Hafsa Enterprises, whatever I've chosen. That is one TIN. But when it comes to an individual, ideally with registration, if it's a limited company, I'll give the company a TIN and the directors that follow through. Each director has to have a TIN. Okay. So ideally that goes with registration. But after registration, what do we expect? What's next? Ideally keep your records, because you're trading in the course of the year. You need to also ascertain how much you have sold, how much is your income, and how much have you expensed. So that by the close of the year, you have a mimic of a picture of what has happened in your business. Okay. Because the next obligation is for filing your return. You cannot address that properly when you don't have records. Okay. Because ideally it's difficult to remember all the transactions just offhead in the whole year, because maybe you don't even do only this business, the other things you do. So ideally you can't, because we are human beings. Yeah. So that is why we say keep records. And when we are keeping records, let them be the proper records. Okay. Ideally, if one is registered on VAT, let them have the fiscalized receipts or invoices going through. Yes. And same applies to you whom they've supplied. Ideally ask for that receipt or that invoice. So those are part of our records moving forward. So when it comes to such a time, I am looking at you when the year is ending, but I'll ask myself, what is your filing date? What is the
okay.
accounting date? Because by default, most of the clients we have, the accounting date is 31st June.
Yes.
30th June, sorry.
30th June.
Yes. So ideally, when your accounting date is 30th June, it's the default day URA gives you. Then half the year, which is close to now, I expect you to have filed your provisional return
Okay.
when you are non-individual. But if you're an individual, when my year starts on 1st July, I give you the first 3 months by 30th of September to file that provision. However, if you forgot, it is okay, file it now. Better late than never. Because ideally, when you don't file, it will cause issues like penalties, interest, and all that disorganization.
Yeah.
Kindly, before you go to Christmas, check and see what you haven't done in filing. If you have monthly tax types that are registered against your TIN, we have VAT, we have payers you earn, we have withholding tax, we have excise duty. All those are monthly tax types where I require a return by the 15th date. So ensure that before you go in Christmas, your VAT return, your payers you earn return, your local excise return, your withholding tax return for November has reached us. Yes, the due date was 15th, but never know, we even extended it up to 19th. But maybe some haven't even filed because of reasons here and there. It is well, at least file it before you go in Christmas.
Okay.
Before this week ends, kindly do file it. Because it's better for us to know what position you have your end than us estimating for you, thinking that this is how you performed. But actually it wasn't that. That is why you operates a self-assessment regime. It is basically meant for you to just draw that picture for us. Paint a picture.
Okay.
Because you're the business owner, you know when your business worked, when we didn't work, what challenges have been there. That is what we want you to put in your return. Okay. So that we can understand you.
Okay. Yes. And does this also apply to people who have rental income?
Ideally, rental income is income tax. It is a branch of income tax.
Okay.
That's the way withholding tax is, because it just takes the name by the nature of how we collect it. We withhold and so, but actually it's income tax. So rental income is income tax. So ideally, we expect to return if you source rental income and you haven't filed your provisional. Kindly ensure before you go to Christmas, kindly give us a provisional return.
Okay. And how does someone out there who is willing to meet their obligations go about this process?
Ideally, filing is accessing our web portal on www.ura.go.ug. That's our portal. Once you access the web portal, then you'll just look onto the right-hand side. There's a small word called login. Kindly click on it. Once you click on it, it will create another pop-up window that will tell you, put here your login ID, that's your TIN, put here your password, that's a secret password that you saved with the system. Enter the text that is available because we want to confirm whether we are dealing with a human being. Then after you will submit, then it will open for you. But how do you prove that now you're in your account? It will welcome you there at the topmost right corner. It will welcome you. Hello, Priska. Then you know I'm in my account. Then once you're there, just check your right hand side. You'll see the word return. Move the cursor slowly and look for which return you're looking for. Okay. Locate it. Is it a rental return for income tax? Because now it's a standalone. Is it a VAT monthly return? Is it a payers and monthly return? Ideally, all the tax returns are there, but you just kind of select what the one you're going to pay. Okay. Exactly. Okay. Then once it's there, and by the way, for VAT, it's even simpler now, because it's pre-filled. Your work is to log on, see what I have populated for you, what I have pre-filled for you, confirm in the event that all is well, then your work is to submit. Oh, wow. As simple as that. So I don't expect you to get a penalty because you filed VAT late. Sincerely, when everything is a self-service, we have already filled in for you. Yours is to log on, confirm, submit.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Okay. That has made things really easy, especially
Yes.
the web forms
Exactly.
for VAT.
Yes.
So at taxpayers, there's really no excuse to be on the other side of the tax man. But in the event that someone does not meet the obligation, what are those repercussions? I know you hinted on it, but like in
Ideally,
detail.
once you don't meet your obligation, it's like you have returned the duty to us to think for you. That means when I'm thinking for you, I will push in an assessment on your side. How am I going to do it? I'll use the industrial average values. I'm going to look at those in the same sector like you and operating in the same location and see how did they file? What was their income? I get a number of them and ascertain the average. So the average is what I'm going to use as a baseline to start thinking for you, which may at times be unfair to you because it may not correlate with the business activities on your end. Then 2, penalty. Ideally, when you don't meet your obligation in the stipulated time, there is a penalty. When you file this return late, it's a monthly return, there's a penalty of 200,000.
Okay.
You have given it to me, but it has come in quite late. There's a penalty. And if it comes with amounts payable that we didn't receive by the 15th, there is interest. Because your government expected that money at least by the 15th. And you're giving it to us on the 24th. Ideally, when we receive it on the 24th and forward it to government, we are meant to give you an interest.
Okay.
Because government expected it at that time and didn't receive it, and in most cases had to get an alternative of where to get the resources to ensure that its activities are moving. And wherever you're going to get resources, there are strings attached to the resources. There's some interest. So kindly also borrowed from government and you have used it. When you're returning it, let it come back with the same interest. So that is where we have the situations that are uncomfortable to our clients when we're talking about interest. We're talking about penalties. And there's no reason why you should file late, honestly.
That's true.
Because we have a lot of channels that are here to help you. The offices are still open. Kindly put in what you think, because a provisional return is a mimic of how half the year has moved. So you can keep amending
you can amend it
after even 31st December. You keep amending it, provided by the 30th of June, the position you have for provisional return is the final position you want to let.
So it's not cast in stone.
Exactly. So it is you giving us a mimic of what has happened on your end. Then we go for Christmas. We enter the new year. In case things go on moving, because business is not static. It's dynamic. So keep on amending as many times as you wish, provided by 30th June, the following year. The position you have for provisional is basically what you want us to take.
Okay. So then what if I've been making losses in my business?
It is well.
It's well still.
Indicate that loss and let it happen there. For us, if we feel we are uncomfortable as URA, we'll come in with, we'll do a visit to you. Normally we do advisories and come to you to see what is not going on well. Where are we in losses for all this time? What exactly is happening? What aren't you doing right? We need to understand you and see where we can help you if we can. If we can't, then we'll equally tell you. But at least we need to move with you in this journey so that you do not get any issues here and there.
Okay, thank you, Hafsa. And speaking of the taxman helping our business owners out there, URA is currently it has introduced the tax waiver. This is something that we've rolled out. So please speak to the tax waiver. How can our taxpayers benefit from it? Yes.
Ideally, this year, 2023, 2024, the Ministry of Finance came up with a waiver because it appreciated the fact that businesses are still struggling. And we need them to comply. And payment is amongst the compliance activities I'm looking at. How will this client comply 100% when they are incapacitated? They are struggling with the payment. So government came up with that waiver. It was read in the policy amendments, effective 1st of July 2023. So that is what we are moving with. And what does it specify? We are looking at you as at 30th June 2023. What was that outstanding on your TIN or in your tax statement? We want to look at you in that arena and see what was it that we didn't collect, but at least was collectible. So when we ascertain what was it that was collectible, we need to know how much was the actual tax, that is the principal tax, and how much was in it that was penalty. How much was in that figure that was interest? Then we address you to the principal. If you can make good the principal and see how to juggle with this principal, pay it by 31st of December. We are going to ensure that we waive the interest and penalty. So that will give you a breather.
Yes, because the economy has been tight.
Exactly. And you may not be in position to clear the whole of principal, but at least you can clear part of it by 31st December.
So if I clear 50%, do I get a waiver that the penalty and interest are also waived by 50%?
Exactly. We are going to waive them on a pro rata basis to the extent of which you have cleared the principal tax. Because you have tried, just because things haven't happened the way you had planned. So what are we looking at? We are looking at clearing areas. We don't want to move with areas that are uncollectible. Let us collect the actual tax. Then do away with whatever was principal and penalty then. So I think it will give our clients a breather and start on a better page when it comes to 1st January. So that is basically what we are trying to advocate for when it comes to the waiver itself.
And then how does someone apply for it? So you just pay
Ideally,
and then
you don't need to apply. You just log on, as we said, via the web portal with your TIN and password, the procedure in which I took you through. But when you reach there, instead of looking for return, this time you're going to look for tax statement. Because a ledger is now called a tax statement. When you go to the tax statement, you're going to move through the different pages and ascertain what is your outstanding liability. And if you can't understand it, kindly reach out to us in any of the stations nearest to you so that we can help you understand what your outstanding is. And that is what we want you to address by the principal. When you address the principal, then we are going to see how we are going to move that journey together.
And once I pay my outstanding principal tax, automatically
you don't need to come back.
You don't have to come back.
It needs to do it. And if it hasn't done it, kindly just use any method and communicate to us that have cleared, but your system hasn't waived the penalty and the interest. Then for us, we are going to see how best we can do our job moving forward.
And Hafsa, at this point, we're going to get into some of the questions. Taxpayers are watching and they have some questions coming in. So Janet Alice Nagawa from LinkedIn, she's asking, should a business that has been in existence for 5 months still file the provisional income tax this year?
Exactly, because all businesses don't start on 1st July. Just because when I say 1st July, I'm trying to give you how our financial year moves. 1st July to 30th June. Ideally, if my year started on 1st July, your business might have started on maybe 3rd of September. Kindly, if it started on 3rd of September, file that provision of 2023, 2024, but it is going to clearly indicate 3rd of September up to 31st December. That is the time you are going to file. And kindly just indicate whatever transactions happened, whatever income happened, that is what you're meant to indicate. Then we wait for what will happen in the next half of the year. Yes.
So there's Okodi Jerem. He's just sending you flowers. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year And
Thank you.
Deborah Nansibuga, who qualifies to be registered for VAT?
Ideally, with VAT, when it comes to registration as URA, one, we basically look at someone's turnover. Can this person, or has this person made a turnover of 150 million in a given year and exceeding it? If I'm looking at a quarter, that's 3 months. Can this person meet 37.5 million in their sales? Does this person have a fixed place of abode? You know, now a fixed place of abode is a little subjective because now we have online businesses. But there are businesses that are not really online. It depends on the nature of business. But there are those that can be online. That is well okay. But at least we need to know if you have a fixed place of abode, then that's the fair. We need to look at things like the tenancy agreement. If you tell us this is where I work from, we need confirmation. Then we need to look at your compliance on taxes like income tax.
Okay.
Because in income tax, if I need 2 returns, that's a provisional half year, then a final when the year ends in the first 6 months. If you have managed to keep up to that, then at least I'll be certain you'll be keeping up to VAT. Because with VAT, this is a monthly return. And once it doesn't come in time, there's a penalty. So I'm asking if you're still struggling with giving me 2 returns in a year. How good will you be to give me 12 returns in a given year? So we look at a number of parameters. We look at whether you're sane, your brain is okay, and your mindset. And those are some of the things we look at so that we can basically register you for VAT. And secondly, we look at what you're dealing in. Is what you're dealing in vertable?
Okay.
If you're dealing in missed supplies, I expect to see the standard rated supply is there, the zero rated supply is there. But if you're dealing in purely exempt, you don't need to register.
Okay.
Yes, I do register those dealing in standard rated, those dealing in zero rated, it's well, but with the exempted, if you're purely in exempted items, then you don't need to do your registration. Because you'll find somebody who is dealing in fresh flowers, fresh vegetables. Ideally, there's nothing that will prompt you to register for VAT. Because there's no way you're going to pick the VAT from.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, Nansibuga Deborah, there you go. Hope that answered your question very well. Moving on, Agnes Twesime, she's asking, I got an email that forced in registration, yet I already had a TIN. Please explain that.
Thank you very much. She got an email that forced her and probably gave her another TIN. That's how I'm understanding it. Maybe because we do more of data mining, we leverage on data.
Okay.
Maybe we had information, and that information we had was leading us to a particular source of income still towards the same person. And maybe the system did not actually tell us there is another TIN for that very person. But it is well, we can amend that. She can basically come to any tax office, show us, I already had this TIN and you gave me this. We can cancel the latter one and look at what you initially had and maintain that. And put everything on the first TIN, then you maintain only 1 TIN. Because we are meant to give you 1 TIN in your lifetime in business.
Okay.
We are not meant to give you more than 1 TIN because it will give you a headache. I'll be giving you an assessment here and assessment here. And I'm slapping it on the same person. Also with the same income. It's really not fair.
It's not.
Yes.
And tax is fair. So, Deborah, I think you can visit any URA service station and have that fixed. Okay, so back to the waiver, Hafsa.
Yes.
The taxman is saying that the deadline is 31st December, right?
Yes.
But there's taxpayers out there and they've been asking on our socials, is there a chance for this deadline to be adjusted?
We can't exactly speak on the deadline because the deadline is in law. It's in section 40D in the Tax Procedures Code of 2014. That's where we pick it from. So I think, or I would advise, let us work towards 31st December. Whatever will be the spillouts, never know. Supervisors, the Ministry of Finance can come in and probably announce an extension. but let us first work towards 31st December because that is what is in law right now. Then maybe if spillovers are there and they are quite a reasonable number, it may cause for an extension moving forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Hafsa. And when you talked about 40D, has URA or the ministry proposed such waivers in the past?
Exactly. In 2022, if I'm not mistaken, the first COVID time, the government brought the first waiver. And the first waiver is in section 40C, still of the Tax Procedure Code of 2014. It was basically saying that whoever had an outstanding liability, say by 30th June of 2020, maybe 2021, if I'm not mistaken, we are going to waive the penalty and interest. That is all. It did have a conditionality that you must have paid the principal. So we left you sort yourself because we are from COVID. People were uncertain. They didn't know they would even go back to businesses. So we left it at that for you to see how to juggle with the principal tax and see how you're going to make it good. So that was the first waiver that came in COVID time. And this is the second waiver still to address the COVID spillovers because people are still struggling. Yes, we are not in COVID, but it had some impact in various
after
businesses.
effects.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Hafsa. Back to the Q&A. There's a person called Graphics Domain is asking, how can I reconcile my payments that were paid as one? For example, June and July 2023, paid in August 2023. Tried to apply payment redistribution, but wasn't successful.
Ideally, yes, payment redistribution of payment transfers is under the ledger system. Yes, fine, we are building the ledger, but at times there are things that may not actually work out at the time you need it, but each and every day we are patching and making it a better experience. Yes, you can still come over to your tax office, and your tax office will help you once something is not working out round, and we can contact the ledger office to see what exactly is the issue, because you have the liberty to distribute your credit to wherever you need it.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you, Hafsa. And to our taxpayers watching, remember our URA service centers are going to be open longer during this end of year period. They'll be open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's on the 29th and 30th of this month. And also our contact center will work longer, so it will work from 8 a.m. to midnight. So whatever inquiries, whatever situation you're in, we are here to support you. So don't feel alone. Don't feel like you can't meet your obligations. We're here to support you. And so thank you, Graphics Domain, for your question. So another question is coming in from YouTube, from someone called Scorpion, interesting name. What's the criteria for exemption from withholding tax list?
Ideally, when we are looking at exempting you withholding, one, you need to apply. But when you apply, we look at compliance in 360 degrees. How? We expect somebody who files up to date, somebody who pays up to date, somebody who has filed, even the directors have filed up to date, somebody and maybe we are looking at the amount of payment you've given us, because in the last, I think, criteria when we're selecting, at least you must have paid 100 million plus. Okay. So we are basically looking at those we can trust. When they don't withhold from you, we know they will be in position to file. Because the mechanism of withholding from you is, we are not sure you will come and file your income tax return. You may tell us, Neil, I didn't work, so let us withhold from source. Okay. So that there is no excuse of telling us that, they didn't pay me and all that. But these are people we have trusted over time, and their compliance is at its best. So those are the people normally we exempt.
Okay.
So you check yourself and see, am I filing up to date? Am I paying up to date? Did I register up to date? How much have I paid URA? Ideally, if you paid us at least 100 million plus, I think we need to trust you. Those are good amounts of money. Parting with and giving us it is not really the easiest
It's
in
not,
this time
it's
and
not.
era. So we have a number of parameters we look at for us to be able to exempt an entity.
Okay,
Yes.
Scorpion. There you go. There's your response. So we have a question from Maurice. He's asking, how can I access the tax clearance certificate? I think because it's end of year, the questions are coming from all over the place.
Exactly. Tax clearance is very simple. Log on in your account. Just visit our portal on www.ura.go.ug. Log on, go to the right hand side, you see the log on icon, click there. When you click, it will bring a pop-up window. Put your login ID, which is your TIN, your secret password, kindly put it there, type the text and get into there. When you get there, look on your right hand side, that's where the menu starts, and look at tax clearance certificate. When you put the cursor there, it will ask you application, then click yes. Then you'll apply and you'll tell us where you're applying to. Kindly ensure that you have the TIN of the agency where you need the tax clearance to be sent, because we send it electronically. And input their TIN, their names will auto-populate, tell us what you're going to supply them, and tell us the duration of the tax clearance. Normally it's a year, and we give it for the current year. So ideally, that is what you should do. But before you do that, ensure you have filed up to date. Ensure your directors are filed up to date, the company has filed up to date, and you have paid up to date. And in the event that you haven't paid up to date, at least we have the installment mechanism, where it is very simple that you can come to us and tell us, yes, I agree, I have this amount, but I want to pay it in installments. So that we craft an MOU and know that at least each and every month there is an amount we expect for maybe the next 3 or 4 months, depending. That will at least save you from the burden that this is an outstanding that you need to clear before we give you a tax clearance. So ensure that your compliance in what is outstanding, in what needs to be paid, and even your profile. We want a profile that is up to date.
Okay.
We want all the directors listed there. We want where the physical location where we can get you. We want that email that is functioning, because you go to one's profile and the email has never functioned. The way it's
That's
even
already a red
formatted, you
flag.
know.
Yeah,
Secondly,
something
how
is
will we
off.
hear from this person? And secondly, how are they even going to get the notification that have approved
that's true.
the tax clearance
Exactly.
when the email is
Not
not functioning? So at least we need a phone number that at least is functioning. If your phone numbers you gave us were for maybe companies that closed long ago, kindly update us with the current, so that everything is well for us to look at you.
Okay, so Maurice has to do his due diligence. Make sure
Exactly.
you submit, things that don't have any red flags. Yeah, it should be a smooth process from there. really.
Exactly.
Okay, we have more questions coming in. Jimmy Oni is asking, how do I deactivate my TIN for non-individual? I'm having 2 companies and I want to kill one and maintain one.
Ideally, if you want to deactivate, kindly reach out to us, but we need to know, are you closing it for good? Because if you're closing it for good, we'll tell you to first go to URSB, Uganda Registration Services Bureau, inform them that I am winding up this company for good, so that they give you a certificate of winding up. It's what you give us for us to deregister it from our register. There are 2 terms. There is a deactivation, that is a temporary thing. You could say, I'm closing it now, but I hope to come back. But there is a deregistration, that actually I'm closing this for good. I'm moving out of the country, I'm not going to use it again, and all that. So we need to know, what do you want, so that we can advise you. But all will happen when we have gotten consent from the directors. You could come as one director, but we need to know,
Consent of
are the
all the
other ones
others,
consenting for you
documents.
to close a company where they are directors? Then maybe we need a resolution to follow through, signed by each of these, so that we can confirm. At times we even call them either physically or even on phone, to confirm whether actually they are in agreement of the contents in the resolution to dissolve this entity.
Okay.
Yes, but remember, when you're registering, it goes with clearing the outstanding liability. Because where am I going to get you? I mean, there's a liability and you're telling me you're closing. At least we want you to give us a pattern of how you're going to clear before we can click deregister from our register, because we will not deregister you when we know you're going for good.
Okay.
And you're not coming back.
And this is the perfect time, for like Jimmy who wants to deregister, because the waiver is in play.
Exactly.
So even if you just pay your outstanding principal, the rest
Exactly.
is,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Joram is asking, a company income tax liability has been rising even after filing and also director liabilities. How will the waiver settle that? For I don't know the principal and accumulated interest. Should I read it again?
Yes.
Okay. A company income tax liability has been rising even after filing and also director liabilities. How will the waiver settle that? For I do not know the principal and accumulated interest.
Ideally, let me start with the last. You don't know the principal. Kindly go to your tax statement and see what is there. Unless you don't understand the figures there, kindly come to us to interpret for you what the figures there are meaning or what they imply. That is one. Then second, he said he's filing and the liability is increasing. What increases the liability is interest. You could be filing but not paying. Unpaid tax is a debt to government, and the more it's unpaid, the more it accrues interest. So kindly see how you clear that principle so that the interest bit goes off. Yes. And this one is basically looking at returns that you filed before the 30th of June, or that were due by the 30th of June. So if you are filing in August and September, and for the periods in August and September, then the waiver doesn't reach that far. Because it's like you're filing now, and you tell me you're filing for maybe March 2023, there the waiver will apply. Yes. Because I had to receive that return by the 30th of June within that year. I didn't receive it and now you're making it good. There the waiver can apply because ideally it will come with interest. It will come, with a penalty because you filed it late. And if it's a payment, it may accrue some interest. So that is what we are trying to mitigate, to help you at least pay whatever is the outstanding only, and we work on the penalty and interest for that particular return. So that's what we are trying to push forward. You may not have filed certain returns by the 30th, but ideally they were due. It's like telling me that for income tax purposes, you did not file 2021, 2022. That was due by 31st of December 2022. Ideally, I had to receive it then, because even though you file it now, I'm going to post it there in my ledger where it had to be, just because it has come in late. That's why it has to pick the penalties there, and maybe the payment wasn't made then, it may pick the interest. That is what I am meant to work on if the principal tax is what you're going to pay and you have paid it.
Okay. Okay. There you go. Is it Joram? Yeah. So Katua Laban, in line with the registration still, he says, if the company has been deregistered by URSP and the URA portal, it shows that URA is still demanding me some money. Yet the company wasn't working or getting business. What do I do?
Ideally, if URSP deregistered it, then come to us and show us that proof, and we see how best we can manage you. Because if URA was still demanding you, those should be estimates. Then if you're not in agreement with the assessment, we have different windows. You can object and tell us, look here, I'm not in agreement with this because I was deregistered at that time with URSB, but maybe I didn't come in time to inform you. But ideally for that time, my company was not working. So that we understand you, because this is an information gap where they deregistered you there because you had closed by, maybe you forgot to come and tell us. Kindly object and see what will come out through the objection decision. Then probably we'll address it at that point.
Okay. And to our taxpayers, this is just a reminder that URA, it's a communication. It's two-way. If you have any challenges, you come, you tell the taxman, and we guide you on how to, move forward. And I've noticed many taxpayers probably do not reach out to the URA service centers, and that's why these gaps come up. Okay, we have another question from Washaki Abdallah. He's saying, in the tax statements, the withholding credits are not indicated. Is about the ongoing reconciliation. Okay, Abdallah, your question is not very clear.
Withholding credits, he's talking about things like when one withholds from you. We have withholding under income tax and we have withholding under VAT. Ideally, if you supply one who is designated for any of those or both, they need to withhold from you. But when it comes to VAT, which is a monthly tax type, when say you withhold from me and I'm meant to file, you're meant to find the tax credit there. Our work is to ensure that the other party equally has paid, because filing, yes, he has raised you raised the IFRS invoice, gave it to them, that's where they deducted the 6%, maybe on the exclusive amount to withhold for VAT purposes. So we are meant to plant the credit there for you, the person they withheld from, because we've already seen it on the other side of whoever withheld from you. Maybe here what we need to follow through is, has the other party paid? Because when the other party has paid, ideally those are credits at times that may start as unutilized, and at the end of the day, you utilize them because the other party has equally paid what they withheld from you. But all in all, failure to interpret, or when you have a confusing scenario with the ledger, kindly reach out to your tax office or the nearest office that is nearer to where you're working from, and we can guide you. Because yes, this is something that is modernized, that is a little new to most of us, and we may find the figures quite confusing in interpretation. So we are here to see how to guide in case there is a payment that hasn't reflected where you expect it. Kindly tell us so that we can see, did it reconcile? Why can't we receive it in your ledger? Know that.
Okay.
Or maybe by the time you paid, you indicated you're paying for income tax, and here you see a liability on VAT. You expect it to clear VAT. There are things we need to put right, because you can't take a credit from one tax type and take it to another to clear another tax type. It has to clear that same tax type. That is where you need to allocate it. So we need to go through these things. Fine, we appreciate they are new, we are making modifications day and night, but we are promising to move the journey with you, so that once you understand how to interpret this tax statement, then moving forward it will be simpler for us. You can just read it, know what is outstanding, see how you can clear it, then get in touch with us.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Hafsa. And taxpayers, just the new system, just be patient with it as we make it better, and your feedback is very helpful because it helps us get better. So, and in due course, everything will be stabilized, and you will realize that it's going to make your work very much easier. Samuel Mugoya from LinkedIn has a question, and this will probably be our last one before we can wrap up. Thanks to URA for these online sessions, they're really educative. You're welcome. And thank you, Samuel, for tuning in. My question, if my customers withhold my cash, will my company be considered as being compliant?
Ideally, when your customers withhold, that implies that you're supplying one who is already designated. Will it be like you're compliant? Not really, because when they withhold from you, they do not need to take your consent. I mean, that is it. When a supply exceeds 1 million, withholding tax under income tax happens. If it's for VAT, once you supply a designated VAT withholding agent, they withhold 6% on the exclusive amount that doesn't have the VAT component. So being that withholding is a mechanism for us to receive this money earlier, or your government to get it earlier, it's not really compliancy. But what is compliancy is what you have done on your part. Have you filed this income tax in time? Have you filed your VAT return in time? And have you made the payment? That is where we look at compliance on your side. And have you registered for the right tax types? You may be receiving, may be having people you employ, and you've never registered for pay as you are.
Yeah.
It is not right because when you withhold from them, where are you going to put the money? Because these people need their money to come to URA. You need to withhold, you need to equally work on their NSSF. All these are statutory deductions that have to happen. There is local service tax. So that's where we look at your compliance at a 360 degrees. What they withheld from you is not really compliance. It's compliance on the other party that is withholding.
but not on
Because
your
once
side.
we designate it, we tell it failure to withhold, we are coming to you. We are recovering from you. If you feel uncomfortable, you look for the other person you dealt with to recover. So compliance is basically on the other side of that person who is withholding from you. But you, we are looking at you. We are walking through your registration. How was it done? How is your profile appearing? Is it up to date? Do the directors, all of them have teams? Are they filing up to date? Are you making the right declarations? Are the payments coming through? In case there is an outstanding, how do you plan to make it good? Those are the things we want to hear. That's where your compliance can be determined.
Okay, and still on Samuel Mugoya,
Yes.
because, and you've hinted on some of the things he's asking in his second question. It reads, we opened a company and we did not get into operations. Okay, we opened a company and we did not get into operations, but we had registered 14. None of us as directors knew that there could be implications that comes with TIN. In other words, we were ignorant about it. Just a few months back, we got a notification of abnormal income tax of 58 million were coming on our phones. Could you kindly advise on how to go about it?
Thank you very much. Yes, you didn't know, but ideally, if you didn't know the interventions that need to happen. So let's address it as at now. You have just discovered you have an outstanding of 59. Kindly, let's move backwards and see the 59 is for which periods? Okay. Which years are these? You, if there are 2-3 years, you'll object to each year independently and tell us what happened.
Okay.
You as a company object, because by this time, some objections may be late because we give you 45 days from the time you receive the assessment to object. But you can still apply for extension to file an objection. Once you apply for that extension through your account, then you wait for us to approve it. Then when we approve the extensions of the different years, then once they are approved, you're the one who tells us when you hope to even file the objection. So when you tell us, give us a particular date, we open the objection up to that particular date you've told us. So kindly push in these objections so that we can start the conversation with you. What exactly happened? If you didn't work, what have you been doing? And how do you earn? It may not have worked here, but as an adult, and more so as a man, how do you survive? Because you may have told us you have a family, you have children, you have a wife. Under the ordinary, at least a man should be able to look after a simple family. What happens? Where do you source income? You know, if you company, where do you earn from? So that we understand you. Because when you tell me I don't earn, then what happens? You wake up to what? Who pays your rent? Who pays the school fees for your children? When you get sick, what happens? Unless when they married you, okay, that can also happen these days because culture is overturning and taking different trends. But under the ordinary, we would expect at least a man to be doing something. Somebody at least 25 and above should be doing something because you're out of school at that time. So you're doing something, however small, but at least you have that small income that helps you to survive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Hafsa. I know I said this one, this previous question was the last one, but people are really sending in questions, so I'll just keep bringing them to you. Penelope is asking, is the waiver only for income tax related penalties, or is it for other types of taxes as well?
The waiver is addressing taxes under domestic taxes. This is income tax, rental income tax, VAT, pay as you earn, local excise duty. stamp duty. I think I'm done with all the tax types. Game pulling and betting tax. So it is basically addressing tax types we manage under domestic taxes. Ideally, the activities you do within the country, what you source from those activities are the tax types we register on your tin. So they are basically addressing the tax types on your tin, except customs duties.
Okay. There you go, Penelope. I think that's very crystal clear. Ronald Sirigatia is asking, kindly advise on the way forward on organizations that withhold but don't remit, despite reminding them to remit. Honestly, little has been done by URA.
Thank you very much. Yes, organizations that withhold and don't remit. But I think it's a two-way. Whoever has asked that question, I think we need to work together. We have the informal management arrangement. You can just come and whisper to us, I supply so and so, and they are not remitting. When I ask for a tax credit certificate, I think things go round and round. I'm not getting it. So that for us, we can come in and do our work.
Yeah. Yes.
Kindly, that window is open. You can come and at least let us know. Yes, we try, but we can't be everywhere. At times, certain things can be missed. But if you know of that entity that is withholding from you for a number of years or whatever period, kindly let us know so that we can see how to come in, because the law empowers us of what we can do moving forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ronald. That is your answer. And Richard Turiasingra is asking, I'm planning to quit my business for 1 year, then open it later. How do I successfully do it? I think this is where
that's a deactivation. If you're planning to close, say you want to work up to 31st December, kindly come and let us know before 31st December. Tell us, I would want to put this business to rest. And this tin is registered under this business. So if it is the only source of income on that tin, I am going to deactivate the whole tin. But if that tin has more than one, I am only going to deactivate the business on that tin, and we remain with other sources of income on the same tin. Because ideally, you're meant to have one tin.
Yes.
And on that one tin, you can register your motor vehicle, register your rental apartment, you can register the business income, you can give it to your employer once you are in employment and you need to pay as you earn. So ideally, we look at what exactly is there in for you so that we do the right thing. Because if you have other sources of income, I cannot deactivate the tin. Because what will happen to the other sources of income? I'll only address this business that is on the tin, and I will deactivate it from there and close it on the system so that we remain with the others that are there.
Active.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Hafsa. And our viewers who have tuned in, thank you very much for being very active, for sending in your questions. It's very encouraging. It shows that you actually want to meet your obligations, and kudos to you. So Samuel Mugoya, he says, thank you so much, Hafsa. I'm very happy with these responses. And thank you, Samuel, for tuning in. Thank you, Ronald. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Penelope, Ochero, Peter, and Herbert Mufumbiro for tuning in, for working with us since we started the program. And Hafsa, at this point, I will, have you come in and share your closing remarks before we can wrap up.
Thank you very much, Priska. I would like to thank our viewers and our taxpayers and all Ugandans for having supported us for this calendar year 2023. Yes. We thank you very much. We don't take it for granted for having given us that coin you've given us, or that penny you've given us. Kindly thank you very much. We do appreciate. We don't take you for granted, because you're the reason why we exist. We need to develop Uganda together with you. We will not deliver the country to economic independence without you. That is why I keep on coming to speak to you, to remind you but kindly ensure before you go in for Christmas, kindly give us that provisional return so that we can know what is happening on your side. And in case there is a payment, kindly make it good. In case things cannot work out the way you want, we have the installment payment. Come and tell us, yes, I filed, but I am going to clear in 2 installments. I'll pay one now, but because there is Christmas, I have some school fees, then the other installment can happen sometime in January. We'll appreciate that. Thank you very much and have a blessed Christmas, a blessed 2024, and a happy Christmas to everybody, to all Ugandans as we develop Uganda together.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hafsa. Thank you for coming to Tax Michuzi. Thank you for being so available for our taxpayers throughout the year. So kudos to you from the team, and I'm sure even our taxpayers. It's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. To our taxpayers, thank you for watching. Thank you for sending in your questions. Thank you for working with us at URA TV from the beginning of the year until now. We continue to encourage you to meet your end of year obligations, send in those provisional income tax returns, and also make use of the tax waiver. It's for you. It's to make business easy for you. So basically, taxman agabude. So go into Christmas happy and enjoy this period, but also stay safe out there, drive safely, and yeah, we'll see you again next week probably, or next year. Good day.